Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crossing Route podcast. This is Adani, and you are joining us in Adani's gamer space. To my right, yeah, that's my left. But to my right is Haladin, and to my left is Maul. And I want to thank y'all for coming and joining us for the NFL podcast. I know we missed last week, but we have lots to talk about this week. So let's get Haladin's opinion on what we witnessed this weekend.
Well, I mean, I guess let's start off with the Chiefs beating the
Bucks.
The Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that was a game.
It was a whooping, basically. Took him to the woodshed,
Cooper Rush
basically.
is way better than people gave him credit for, and Dak Prescott is maybe it's time for a regime change as far as the players in the offense in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Because how will Dallas sustain this for the rest of the season, and where does the Cowboys go after this? They just paid Prescott so much money. So,
yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott is. I mean, a lot of people have said that he's injury prone. So, I mean,
speaking, yep. Well, I mean, obviously the Tua injury is always something to talk about. Mm-hmm. As far as
we'll get to that. Just kind of
storylines go.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that for sure. What about your Saints in London?
Fourth quarter, I mean, I don't know, shooting themselves in the foot and really bad play calling or reffing and play calling. Honestly, both were problematic in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, considering that y'all were missing a healthy Alvin Kamara and having your backup quarterback in, and the issues that you guys are having in the play calling, I don't know what's going on with y'all's offense right now, but it just seems like I can't talk.
I thought Andy Dalton looked pretty good. I didn't think he looked bad.
That one pass in the end zone where the receiver was just like waiting for forevers to be thrown the ball was just kind of everything you needed to say.
He played better than Jameson has, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
His performance over the four quarters is much more solid versus Jameson's erratic play, and then the fourth quarter trying to scramble 5 touchdowns because they're so far behind, and putting all the pressure on your defense the first 3 quarters. It's like I said week 1, team is not there. They've kind of checked out for some reason, and I don't know what it is, but maybe Jameson isn't the answer, and he's making a lot of erratic plays like he used to.
Mm-hmm. And
going to the same target over and over again doesn't win you football games.
Matt Stafford, what? I'm sorry, yeah. What? Matt Stafford, what?
Well, in his case, it has won him games because Cooper Kupp is insane.
He also threw a pick 6, which ended the game last night.
Yeah, that is true. Jimmy Garoppolo was undefeated against the Rams in the regular season.
That's insane. That's just a crazy statistic. Just 7-0 against. Thank God the Dolphins beat the Bills this year, because that was Josh Allen was about to be on that list.
Well, I mean, look at the Jimmy Garoppolo is the perfect example of believing in yourself. Was it investing in yourself?
Betting on yourself.
Betting on yourself. That is what it is. And I mean, just the pay cut, the situation where he couldn't practice with the team, getting passed up for the young guy. He just sat there. Trey Lance got a horrible injury.
He knew what Trey Lance was at the beginning of the season. I think the 49ers were forced to go to Trey Lance because they bet the house on him. with their draft. They gave up 3 first-round picks,
Mm-hmm.
right? Something right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
three
first-round picks and a
yeah.
third-round pick. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like they leveraged their future on a kid that doesn't. He only played 1 full season of college football, and as a starter, and like he's flashes. It's like Taysom Hill, flashes of goodness, but probably a Taysom Hill kind of guy. Like, and that's rough. It's rough because I love me some Taysom Hill, but he is flat. Like he is good at best sometimes, but I'm still gonna watch every game. Don't get me wrong. I'm hating on the Saints right now, but I will watch every game.
Watching him, he looks like a bad Kaepernick. And Kaepernick's also not.
You know that brings up a good point. Is that it's if Trey Lance is a Kaepernick style quarterback who's a running quarterback, I mean we have 3 really good examples of running quarterbacks who have not been injured. I would say have not been injured extremely like a Trey Lance has. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson, of course. So what makes them different than someone like Trey Lance? That obviously, is it just a freak accident, or is there something different about the way they play the game?
It's definitely a freak accident.
Well, I say that, but also you look at injury history. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson have all historically been actually pretty healthy, and they're able to just stay on the field for the most part when it comes to their rushing ability and stuff like that. Where, Haladin said that, Trey Lance only played 1 full season, and whether that was because one of his was short or he played behind Carson, that time of getting used to being hit at a higher speeds and higher levels, because that's what happens when you go from like high school to college to NFL. And yeah, it was a freak injury, but like it's like the preseason conversation that we had where some of the veterans were like, "Hey, I want to play in that last game because my body needs to remember what it feels like to get hit and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 quarterbacks that you mentioned, Jalen, Kyler, and Lamar, that's what they do. Day in and day out, they know. Well, Kyler's more so because he has to run for his life, but but they know day in and day out like what it's gonna feel like. Their bodies atone for it. They practice for that, and they know what they need to do in the off season to prepare for that such thing. With Trey Lance being so new to the league and new to what he needs to be able to do, I feel like at the certain speeds that they're playing at, I don't know if he has that off the field regimen yet to get his body to where it needs to be able to hold up for 3 seasons. Freak accident, like freak injury or not.
Yeah, I mean I could see that. I definitely think that he has potential. It's just got even though you spend those 3-round picks, sometimes sitting is the best option.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but I mean he sat all last year. It's not like this was the year for him to sit. This was the year for him to play.
Well that now we just said that they felt that they had to.
And like that's because there's pressure when you spend a franchise's first 3-round picks. It's just like the case in the Saints. The Saints spent 2 first-round picks getting Trevor Pennington because we moved up in the draft and got him. We leveraged our future because we felt like he was a really high asset. Yeah, he got hurt. That sucks. That happens to but we'll see in the next couple of years if that was worth the payoff of the turn. It's always kind of Cleveland is like the prime example of moving up in a draft and then just falling on their face like
over and over.
Johnny Manziel.
Over and over again.
Yeah, like they have no chill with that. The Bills, who are who they thought were kind of okay. Josh Allen is kind of okay. He's really good, but he's
I think that
washy.
well that's something I think that I think that the games on Sunday, like the Bills and Ravens game on Sunday, kind of those were the two teams that the aside from the Chiefs, of course, but those were the two teams that they felt were at the top of the the top of the echelon, and I think that kind of brought them back down to earth, so to speak, because that game wasn't pretty. Everyone expected the score to be 45-48 or something like crazy, and it wasn't, and the Ravens secondary is still the same secondary the Dolphins played against. The Bills secondary is still the same secondary that the Dolphins played against. Although I think Jordan Poyer actually played Sunday, so that does make a difference. But you have the fourth down on the 2 or 3 yard line at the end of that game, and clearly, clearly the Ravens don't trust their defense, and I'm sorry to say, you can't win a championship if you don't trust your defense. So I mean, that's where that's the downside of. I mean, Lamar can play out of his mind all year, but if his defense can't stop anybody, it's not going to matter. He'll get it. He'll win an MVP, and they'll lose the first round in the playoffs. That's what's going to happen.
All of Drew Brees, literally for the last 5 years of his career, other than just mind-blowing stats, and then the defense was so bad that he couldn't get over that hump. You have to have even a mediocre defense if you're going to hold up in the playoffs. And
it's the Phillip Rivers effect, dog.
Yeah.
Although Phillip Rivers was one of those people who like to throw picks right at the wrong time, though.
Yeah, but still, when it came to upper echelon of statistical passing leaders, he was always up there, and he led his team. But I'm glad you were talking about Lamar Jackson, because there is a topic this week. After this week's football games are over, he has over 600 yards rushing, which is more than most top tier running backs in the league right now.
God, he's so good. He's so good.
I don't know if that's a good thing, though.
No, it's good, though. It means that they're always planning for his feet. I mean, he's like Patrick Mahomes.
Beautiful.
He's so good.
Yeah, but
he's so good.
Yeah, but there's no question. But what I think Maul was kind of hinting at is, if that's all your offense, he's on a contract year. At what point is he going to be like, look, I can't keep taking these hits?
We were just talking about Trey Lance and all that, and he said, I mean, he's already stated he wants to go he's fine going other places to play football.
Yeah. If
it was on them.
And I'll be 100%. If the Ravens fumble this with him, and they let him go, they're going to be the mockery of the NFL. The rest of the league is going to laugh them out of the building.
It will be
because they shot themselves with the foot so hard.
It will be the most insane thing. If Lamar Jackson walks out that building, which obviously he's going to get franchise tagged. There's no joke. There's no question he's going to be franchise tagged, and even franchise tagged a second time. But whether or not he plays on those, I don't know. But how do you, if it gets to the point, how do you let a player like that walk out the building? It will be the most insane thing, that has ever happened in the NFL.
Oh, I don't know. Oh gosh, I'm still shaking my head at some of the way they've let different teams have let players go, just because they think that, I don't know, the Ravens, but their Super Bowl winning teams have always been really good
defensively. But
offensively sound.
But the in 2012 when they won, if it wasn't for Flacco, they wouldn't have won.
I mean, no. Joe Flacco's a weird.
He was elite in the playoffs.
That year he was elite. He was elite.
Yeah, he was.
It's like, but you got to be elite in the eyes of everybody. You got to be elite consistently over, 3 or 4 years for you to be elite, and that's why it's crazy to me that everyone's talking about Burrow and Herbert like they're elite. And you, in my eyes, you're not elite until you're elite over the course of several years. Like that's what elite quarterback play is. Being good against Baltimore's terrible secondary, like everybody everybody said about Tua, is not being elite. Joe Burrow throwing 500 yards against an injured Ravens secondary last year doesn't make him elite. It's like, that's... Go ahead.
With the offensive, the reason why people say he's elite is because of his offensive line is basically me and you playing offensive line out there.
That's not true. So, that's completely untrue. La'el Collins is a Pro Bowl tackle. La'el Collins.
Hold on. The Bengals' offensive line this year has given up more sacks than any offensive line in the league up to this point. Plus, they are like 5 or 10 more sacks than last year at this point.
Yeah, but they have
spent money on La'el Collins.
Yeah, but 3 of those players are consistently good players. So there's a problem that is not all on the offensive line. One, how many sacks did he take against the Dolphins?
I have no idea.
Well, we can look it up.
It was.
With the power
I'm pretty sure it was only one. We only got one. I'm pretty sure we only got 1 sack against them.
About to say week 1 we had 7.
Yeah. Well, you also had the reigning defensive player of the year.
Oh, he had 1 in the game. Okay, 6 other people hit.
But that matters. But that matters because you have to game plan for T.J. Watt.
We'll talk about the Steelers in a minute, but hold on.
But the point is that the reason why Joe Burrow was standing upright. Granted, he had a lot of pressures because the Dolphins have very good players on their defensive line. There was a lot of pressures, but you know why he didn't take a lot of sacks that game? Because he got the ball out quick. He took what the defense gave him for the first time in 2 years. Like.
I disagree, but that is okay.
Well, I don't understand why people say all these things about Herbert and Joe Shiesty, but they saw Jalen Hurts win last year, and then we see him this year undefeated, and he's had every game this season. He's had over 400 yards passing in every single one of those games.
Maybe 400 all-purpose yards, not 400 yards passing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
But all-purpose. Yeah. But no, I don't know. It's something crazy. But like his statistics like is insane. Like over the course of these games, and he's just like they wouldn't be winning without him. Like I can't put another quarterback that's doing what he's doing outside of like Lamar Jackson that could produce on the ground as well as he can and through the air as well. And it's just like, and then you start thinking about like what we were talking about with Lamar earlier, and it's like, okay, well, if he doesn't, like, what other teams could benefit from him right now? We have Brady about to go out the door. Who are they gonna bring in?
They got Kyle Trask.
If the Saints are not sure what they have going on, how long are they going to let Jimmy sit over in San Francisco? Baker's not working out in Carolina, and they don't like any of those guys. Like, there's so many teams looking for quarterbacks right now, but we're all stuck on who's elite, who's not. Well, it's like, well, who's winning? Year in and year out. Like, that's the conversation. Like, you don't have to put up statistics as long as you are a big reason that your team is winning. And I just don't feel like Jalen Hurts gets the recognition that he deserves until he's blown up this year.
Well, I will say that I completely agree with you. I will say that, though, they need to play some division games. and then think that's a big factor because the teams that they've played not viewed as powerhouse teams. So I think he'll finally get some respect if when he plays a Dallas, even the New York Giants, like.
The Giants are good this year. I was about to say the Giants are the surprise team for me this year. Like,
hold on.
They're so good.
Saquon Barkley is good, and that's the only reason that they're winning. He is
the
back,
W still stands. The W still is a W, no matter how you look at
it. A W don't change.
The W doesn't change whether it's 1 point. I mean, like it's just like, and how did I don't know. Like it's just crazy to me how good he is as a running back, and it's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
I was so scared seeing Tyrod get hit this weekend by Jaquan Brisker, the rookie out of Penn State, on the Bears. They were telling him, it's just like, man, how does this keep happening to you? Like, but he didn't try to slide. He just tried to like put his helmet down and and it was helmet to helmet. You're a quarterback, dude. Like you have to be playing smarter than that. And
speaking of smart quarterback play, did anyone see Trevor Lawrence's 4 fumbles?
No, I didn't.
He has got to be one of the most disappointing quarterbacks I have seen in quite a while. Maybe it's just people around him, but like.
Well, to be fair, the Eagles have a very good defensive line. So I mean, their defensive line is very good. It's just, and Trevor Lawrence played good against the Chargers. I mean, he whooped up on them, but
but apparently that's not saying much this year.
Yeah,
surprisingly, like they have all the talent in the world, and then just nobody shows up on Sunday.
Well, the Chargers played
Welcome
good.
To the Saints, friend.
The Chargers defense played good against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, I mean.
But everybody plays good against the Chiefs. I don't know if that's a against the Chiefs thing or
the Bucks just lost by they lost by 10, but they lost
whooped.
by
10, but they still put 31 points on the board.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the defense. I'm talking about the Chargers defense played good against the Chiefs. Where we were, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the Bucks potentially being the best defense in the NFL, and
I never said that.
Well,
that must have been. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I was like, but they, the Kansas City hung 38 on them, so or 41 on them, 41, yeah. So because I forgot the extra field goal at the end.
I think Kansas City is just one of those teams where like they always struggle with the Chargers. I don't know if that's just schematically, the Chargers just have Pat's like number, or what it is like that causes him to struggle.
I mean, it's a division game. That could be a factor. I mean, those are all played really close generally. So
Can we take a second to talk about the Lions being the number 1 scoring offense, but the worst scoring defense? They average 35 points a game, and their opponents average 35.3 points a game.
The Lions put up 45 against the Seattle, and then the Seahawks put up 48 back on them.
I mean, you remember the Eagles everyone was like, whoa, the Lions were just playing the hearts out when they lost to the Eagles. I think it was 38-35.
Mm.
They keep losing by 3, man.
Well, they were down in that game by like 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns at one point. Like they were like,
yo, I don't think Jared Goff is getting, I don't want to say enough recognition because like I don't like Jared Goff, but like he is playing his tail off. Like every game he seems like he has like 4 touchdowns, and it's just like, who's he really throwing to outside of Ross St. Brown and Hawkinson? I can't name. Like you have Josh Palmer, I think.
Didn't that wide receiver from Alabama play this week?
Jameson Williams?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea if he got into the game.
No, Jamal Williams was the highest. He had like almost 200 yards and a touchdown.
Are we talking about Jameson Williams out of Alabama?
I think so. I think that he's for the not Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is a running back.
Jamal Williams is the running back.
Yeah.
That was the backup running back.
Yeah.
T.J. Hawkinson.
Hawkinson, yeah.
Yeah, none of these players on this list have anything other than T.J. Hawkinson have any reason to be, and they don't have good statistics really. Josh Reynolds,
St. Brown is that dude.
Oh yeah,
he is
for
proven to be that dude.
Yep, I agree.
Out of nowhere.
Well, he's not out of nowhere. He went to USC, so
Man.
it's not out of nowhere. I'm sorry. Like you can.
No, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I was like, in my mock drafts, I always took Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like,
kid's a monster. Mm-hmm. I think he's in the right place. That team is just insane. The Vikings are very surprising, but I feel like they're also not surprisingly 3-1.
No, the Vikings are not a good team. I'm sorry. I don't.
If you watch that game, that one of their drives was only sustained by the really bad play, like reffing. That wasn't a.
Yeah.
I feel like
they made 4 plays. We forced 3 and outs every time. It was a bad call at the end of like the third and out. Like they had no actual like.
When I saw look
and the Saints missed a field goal and.
Look, when I saw here's the thing. When I saw Kirk Cousins throw three arc balls, 3 arc balls from the 10-yard line to the end zone over to the Darius Slay covered guy, and Darius Slay in three straight passes there was a penalty that allowed the play to go again, but Darius Slay intercepted the ball 3 times in a row, and then finally on the 3rd time it actually took the interception. When I saw that, I was like, Kirk Cousins is not a good quarterback, and that the Vikings will go as far as Kirk Cousins will take them.
He'll still have 4,000 yards passing. That doesn't mean you're a good quarterback.
No, it doesn't.
Matt Schaub.
I mean, Matt Schaub was good one year, right? I mean, he won a playoff game, right?
Where he either had Andre Johnson or D-Hop. I mean, you can just close your eyes.
Ask for 2 better Hall of Fame all-time receivers back to back, and he still was throwing terrible interceptions. The Saints game was interesting for a lot of reasons. We are very I'm part of the team.
I mean, you could say we. It's fine. I mean, if I was
the Saints
to the Dolphins as we.
The Saints are very sloppy, and regardless, we are penalty prone, and bad coach teams are penalty prone, which I'm sorry to say that Dennis Allen is that year with the Raiders was very telling now. Good defensive guy, but I don't know if his discipline for actually coaching a team is going to be something long term and effective. We'll probably have, and I said this after the first game, we're probably going to be real bad for 2 years and then clean house and start again.
No,
and then,
I don't think it'll go 2 years. If Dennis Allen doesn't take if Dennis Allen doesn't give you at least a winning record, he doesn't. I don't think he needs to make the playoffs. But I don't think if y'all don't have a winning record, I don't think they're keeping him, because there are too many good coaching candidates being groomed right now. He's got to do better.
this is how the Saints operate. They have a couple of bad seasons, and they trade valuable pieces to get back into the first round. Jimmy Graham, Brandon Cooks. I expect, and this is just me, Alvin Kamara gone within the next 2 years, as much as I love him as a player, and getting 2 first-round picks for him from a desperate team. You shrug, but he's when healthy.
Yeah.
When healthy.
That's the question mark.
He's
that's
the kid.
gonna be the question.
It's the Christian McCaffrey, like, if not 2 first rounds,
I think
a first and change.
I think you're looking at a 2 and a 4, my friend. A 2 and a 4.
I mean, yeah, I can agree with Adam on this. It's I want to give more, but it's also a situation to where, like, we've seen the value of running backs in this league just depreciate, especially ones that have been so dominant. Like, if you look back at the top 5 running backs from 2017, and if you can name them and then tell me where they are on the roster this year,
Todd Gurley,
I'd give you
and he's not on a roster.
David Johnson, those guys. There's so many of them.
I mean, fair.
And so, like, the issue that I think that you're going to find with Alvin Kamara is what's coming up this season. Whereas there's so many injuries and stuff, the wheels are falling off. And I hope that's not the case, because we've seen people come back from it. But
I do want to piggyback your point there, is that I think that we need to, as a fan base, stop believing that players can play 17 games without injury. Like, I just find that I don't think that can be normalized, and I think that needs to be addressed, because there were 5 quarterbacks this weekend, that five starting quarterbacks that were not playing. Like, that's a large percentage of the NFL, like, that didn't play this weekend. Are you
talking about, like, going into the game, or, like, during the game it also got switched out? For a certain reason.
Well, I'm pretty sure started. Mac Jones didn't play. Dak Prescott didn't play.
Jameis didn't play.
Trey
Lance
didn't play. And
Dak.
I said Dak.
We said Dak.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Daniel Jones got hurt in game.
Oh no, you can't really say that. Let's see.
Herbert's battling injuries right now, but he played.
The Jets quarterback.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson did play. Okay.
This is his first week back playing.
Yeah. Oh, last week was his first week back. Yeah. This week, the one we're talking about right now is the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 4 quarterbacks, and then of course we had Tua that got injured. We had Daniel Jones got injured.
Tyrod got injured. Same game.
Let's see.
Mitch got benched at halftime.
Yeah, Mitch got benched at halftime.
You said Tua, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we said Tua, Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Mitch got benched at halftime.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's still a lot of quarterbacks on top of 4. Like, that's almost 10 quarterbacks that are just.
Yeah, and that doesn't include all the wide receivers: Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about top tier talent that is missing multiple games. We as fans need to start to normalize the idea that the expectation, and this goes back to, like, Teron Armstead with the Saints. Everyone was talking about how he never played a 16-game season. Well, I think we need to start understanding that it's extremely hard to play all the games in a season.
It's rare to have people play multiple seasons without injury.
I think the reason that is, though, is because we feed off of what we see, right? So if somebody's, like, injury prone or throughout the years or whatever. Like TJ Watt I don't think he's played a full season yet, and that gets. But like you look at him, he's not a person that like there is no plays off. That's one thing that makes him the guy. Like he is coming for that booty every play.
Well, it's just like his brother. Like they're built the same. Speaking of JJ Watt and his heart,
with the heart, oh man,
going to AFib, like,
and then he played the next day. Yo, what?
It's great. It's kind of insane.
But I mean, but we hear from coaches, and then we hear from analysts. You know, like, oh well, they can't stay healthy. Oh well, they're kind of out of the league because they were injury prone. Oh well, injuries got the best of them. Oh well, this, that, or the other. Like, we see that trade demands for like the value in trades go down on players over the years that have been had more injuries. More of them just Odell, when healthy, is a monster, and he's still out in free agency after he tore his ACL again. Now I just heard rumors that he was just in the Giants building after Sterling Shepard tore his ACL on the turf. You know, but you know, like Todd Gurley, obviously we mentioned him a second ago, and you know that's that. And he's ended up having arthritis in his knees and stuff like that. And that's a whole conversation, I think, for another time, for like what they were doing to running backs, like running them into the ground, literally.
Jay Ajayi was treated like absolute dog shit, basically. Like they.
I always think of that Eagles clip where he's like, "Hey man, you slow. You need to unhitch the wagon." He said, "Man, they gonna dock my Madden speed."
It's good to have a 1-2 punch when it comes to rushing, and often teams carry 3 running backs on the roster simply for the fact that most of the time you're blocking.
Yeah, and we just had Javonte Williams tear his ACL.
Yep, he's out for the season.
Yeah, that's huge.
I was going to mention this earlier because we were talking about Trevor Lawrence's 4 fumbles. I felt so bad. I don't know if you guys saw the interview for Melvin Gordon during the press conference, and because he had I believe he had like 3 fumbles last week or whatever it was, and then this week he was like, I took the extra time during practice and preparation to not do that. He had 1 carry in the game for 8 yards. He fumbled, and the Raiders ran it back for a touchdown. And he couldn't even answer them because the question was so rude. It was like, well, how do you feel after saying that you did all this preparation to not do this for the one time you got to carry for it to end up on the ground? And he just walked away. He just had to walk out of the press conference. And I was like, I don't blame him. But like my heart hurt for the guy. Yeah, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, poor dude. Like, you know,
just like, oh man,
he had just the worst fucking luck.
Dog, I mean, he played. I'm not gonna say great, but he played really well out of college after being the workhorse for Wisconsin, and then everyone was like, oh well, he's not a great running back in the league because I mean he had all the rushing yards, but he didn't have a touchdown his rookie year.
Yeah.
What the hell is that his fault? I mean, it I can see how it could be, but like, there's a lot of nuances that goes into that. I mean,
the team puts you in position. You can't, they're not Shaquan Barkley where he just kind of runs over people. Like, not everyone is built like that, or like Derrick Henry, or Cordell. As much as I hate to say it, Cordell Patterson, who just went on the IR running back.
Oh, I felt so bad about that, but also kind of good because on December 4th we play Atlanta, and like now I don't know who they're gonna throw the ball to or Tyler Aguilar or whatever the kid. He's a rookie. Kid played real well. Props to him. The league sucks, guys. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but football this year, the league sucks. Like, nobody really blows me off the screen right now. I mean,
there are players. There are players that blow you off the screen, but not teams. Like, there's no. There's really no complete team. Like,
There's no team that you're like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
Yeah.
you're not wowed by all the teams. They all are flawed, and it's made for closer games. They threw up a stat during the Saints Vikings game that something more than half the games this year have been decided by 3 or less points.
And that's why we love the NFL. And that's why we love the NFL, because of the parity there is. Even though there are quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers that are far and above the other players, they do not make enough of a difference to...
Not anymore.
Yep. So.
And the thing is about that is, I believe that's more so we're seeing the... How do I want to say it? I feel like Aaron and Tom are the last of those old guys that could really give you something to like look at. People are like, "Oh, Matt Ryan's out there. Matt Ryan sucks this year. He's had a drastic fall off." Because I can't say Matt Ryan sucks, because I give him. I'm one of the few people that believes that even though he only has an MVP and he hasn't, been all that.
He's been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he has been to a Super Bowl. I think he could eventually, there could be conversations made about Hall of Fame.
And just to be clear, Matt Ryan didn't give up 25 points in the third and fourth quarter.
But he didn't score any more points for the deficit either.
Yeah, so. but hey, the same argument can be made for the Ravens game, because like that's exactly what happened in the Ravens and Dolphin game. It's like
let's all keep in mind that he had, for a good bit, he had Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and a fantastic, they were really good when they went to the Super Bowl, and it's hard for me to admit it. But on the other hand, like, he has been known to be a choke artist. They call him Matty Ice, but during playoffs, he chokes every time. He's like...
Oh, no, that's because he's ice cold in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's great during the regular season. He's Peyton Manning without the actual, like, Super Bowls. And stats and
just to be clear, he never did get the ball in overtime. So in the new rules, he would get the ball.
So here's my thing of what I was trying to say, and I think I was actually wrong because I forgot. I feel like this is the first year where it seems like the old guys aren't competing. I don't know if that makes sense. Tom, Aaron, Russell, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, all those older quarterbacks still in the league, they're struggling.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston
Where
also.
Jameis Winston,
he looks old. He looks old. I mean, honestly,
even Carson Wentz is struggling, and you can say he's a vet because he's been out there for a while, but we're starting to see, like, this is different. Like in the past where we had, where Tom was younger, we had Peyton, we had Aaron that was younger, we had Ben still in the league and stuff. We still had all these guys that had been in the league for a while. Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, like all Matty Ice when he was younger. And we had these young quarterbacks come in, but the old guys still dominated. This is the first season I can say, like, okay, we're finally seeing the shift fully, and that's why everything's closer. I mean, like, I can't, like, you look at division-wise, right? Because you have the AFC North, young quarterbacks throughout. You have the AFC East, young quarterbacks throughout. You have the West, young quarterbacks throughout. I think Derek Carr is Russell Wilson, and they're struggling to do anything with him. He doesn't look good, and Derek Carr is right behind him. The two guys that are doing well are Herbert when he's healthy, and then Pat. And then you have the South, who was struggling. I mean, hell, the Jaguars we thought were just miracle children over there before 4 fumbles. You know what I mean? But Matty Ice struggling. Davis Mills is doing better than that. You have
not by much though.
Ryan Tannehill is not playing well either.
Mm-mm.
So you look at the AFC, the only teams that are doing well are the ones that have quarterbacks. The oldest quarterback in our division that's playing right now is Jacoby Brissett.
Who does Ryan Tannehill have to throw the ball to? Like they traded Julio Jones.
Treylon Burks.
Okay, all right. So they just drafted him though, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Talk about what position.
Oh, Robert Woods
into. Also, like Ryan Tannehill was not put to a good position, like offensive wise.
Like this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. They've rode Henry to the promised land, but they had AJ Brown, they had the tight end Janu Smith back in a couple years ago. They had weapons.
It's all about quarterback play. Also, like he's not.
Well,
doesn't.
I think Ryan Tannehill.
He's certainly better than. Sorry.
I was just saying, I think Ryan Tannehill falls in the same category as Jameis Winston. If you don't ask them to do too much, they're going to win you the game. But if you ask them to play hero ball, they're not going to win you the game. Like I feel like that they fall in the same category.
That's what separates the normal quarterbacks from the elite guys. Mm-hmm. And for sure, that's how you get Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady.
Well, I don't know about that. When it comes to winning, yes. But I feel like there's a difference because the only two older guys that I can truly say are statistically out there killing it. Well, not even statistically, but even just winning too. Jimmy G has been consistent, even if that's consistently okay. It's still better than what we're getting out of Russ and them. But Jared Goff, like I said, Jared Goff isn't one of those young guys anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, he's not 30 yet, but he's in the Carson Wentz type area. But
they were drafted in the same round, same draft.
Right. but it goes into that talk of I don't think they're asking him to do all that. They have an incredible offensive line, and you have to fear that rushing game. So it leaves the pass game open, and then it just shreds you. Mm-hmm. But that's what they have to ask of Ryan Tannehill. But like you said, they haven't given him anything or anybody. Who in the NFC that is an older quarterback other than Tom Brady is succeeding right now?
Yeah.
I mean, succeeding is relative to
winning.
Winning. Kirk Cousins is 3-1. Green Bay is 2-2, 3-1.
They look like garbage.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They're not passing the eye test, but they're still winning games. So that's what it's. That's where I question what is the stipulation? Do they look good? No. Does the Vikings look good? No. But they're winning games. I mean,
Jimmy G hasn't looked great this whole time, but he's winning games. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 2-2.
I mean, hell, Cooper Rush isn't a young guy. People forget he got drafted 5-7 years ago, some shit like that.
Yeah,
I think we're just in a transition period, and that's going to be. I think that's going to be a couple years, just like Gabe was saying how he thinks the Saints are going to be bad for a couple years and then clean house. The Saints are in that transition period, and they've been in that transition period since Drew Brees retired. Jameis Winston came in and played well under Sean Payton. Teddy Bridgewater played well under Sean Payton.
Was Teddy Bridgewater the new Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Kind of.
I mean,
I honestly found...
Is Jacoby Brissett the new Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No. I mean, because like Ryan Fitzpatrick generally gets to start wherever he goes, and that's not true with Jacoby Brissett. Like, yeah, it is, but it isn't. Like,
Isn't
he
it?
kind of struggles. Well, no, because he's only getting to start because uh the guy's a sex offender
Yeah.
ahead of him, and he got suspended.
Well, I
I'm
mean that.
talking about if that wasn't the situation, he would be the second string quarterback. He was the third string quarterback in New England. He was the second string quarterback in where's the other place he played?
Indy.
The Colts. Yeah,
Indy.
well, he ended up starting there, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was only after
Andrew Luck
Andrew
got
Luck
injured.
retired.
He got injured, and then after a year, he
Yeah.
retired.
See, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, they usually bring him in to be the starter to bridge into somebody else.
And that's fair.
Bridgewater, Teddy comes in and
Yeah, but
kind of
Teddy
does
wasn't
that.
supposed to start. That was supposed to be Tua.
Not at Miami,
Oh, okay.
but I just meant like
Yeah.
everywhere until Miami,
Okay.
and then now he's getting to start
Okay.
for
Well,
who knows how long.
All right.
it's
Well,
amazing that he's still in the league, though.
yeah.
I agree.
All right. Let's transition. We're coming. We're kind of getting close to the end here. Let's go ahead and give Maul some time to talk about the Steelers and what he's
Lord.
seen, and then we'll move to close it off with the with discussions about the concussion protocol. So go ahead,
Okay.
Maul.
Well, my Steelers aren't doing too good, guys. So I'm pretty sad about it. We're currently 1-3 on the season, but there is a lot of good that has come out of this 1-3 record. We've seen what the Bengals could be this season, and we saw how good our defense could be with TJ on the field. In that first game, our offensive line wasn't very good. Mitch wasn't very good. We didn't have our leading rusher was Chase Claypool with like 17 yards. Since then, because I've only got to talk about week 1, we've lost all of our games, which sounds bad. Shut up.
Yeah, that's
But
we all started 1-0.
Right.
Dog.
Yeah, my dog started growling at me. I said we've lost 3 straight. He started growling at me. Listen, bro, I know.
You be like that sometimes.
It do be like that. But since then, we have been able to get Najee going, and the offensive line has been able to create holes. We've been able to pass block. I'm not going to say significantly better or anything like that, but from week 1 on, every week we see improvement through our offensive line, and that is the biggest thing, because everybody that had been paying attention last year to the Steelers and how we struggled with Ben he only got sacked 3 times last year, but everybody knows that like within 0.1 second he would throw the ball. And we had to, because of everything. Well, we went from Najee having less than 10 yards to him having 49 yards to 56 yards to 74 yards against pretty good defensive fronts. And the Patriots, the Browns, and the Jets have a great defensive front. So these young guys on our offensive line are coming together. We're figuring it out, and the scheme is starting to work to get things rolling. That's good, and he finally has a good backup. Where we lacked on offense was Mitchell Trubisky is fucking garbage. Like, our offensive coordinators also struggled. Matt Canada, I've never been a big fan, and he's a big issue too. But thankfully, at the second half of this game, we brought in Mr. Kenneth Pickett, and I was super excited. And people were like, well, he fumbled that we recovered, and he threw 3 picks, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Well, that first pick, if I'm going to be honest, Chase Claypool needs to stop trying to catch with his freaking chest and catch the ball with his hands, and maybe that wouldn't have happened. It was a tip. The second one was his fault. That was a very rookie mistake. I don't know if anybody saw that clip. It seemed like everybody just came in at him, and instead of throwing it away, he just panicked and threw it to the first Steelers jersey, and it was still tipped. And then the third one was, as time expired, he tried to throw a Hail Mary to the end zone, and it was intercepted. But the thing was is he brought that spark. We were losing 6-10 at halftime. Kenny came in, and with all of those turnovers until the end of the game, we were up 20 to 17 at the end of the game before they scored their last touchdown. Because so he put us up from 10-6. He got us to 20-10 score, and then it was all on our defense. Defensively, we've struggled with health. We get TJ back hopefully. I think it's in 2 or 3 more weeks at max, 4. But I am super excited because Alex Highsmith is the sack leader, and it's just really nice to see him get that recognition and be able to see him take that step forward in that growth, because that means when TJ gets back, if he's still playing at this type of level, it's gonna be something.
You want to hear an interesting stat about Kenny Pickett?
I'm scared.
All right. So since the NFL AFL merger, Kenny Pickett is the quarterback to throw the most amount of passes that did not touch the ground.
That's wild.
Yep. So he threw
everything
he threw 13 passes and none of them touched the ground. That is the most ever
they were all completions.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So other people have thrown
and 9 or 3 picks and 10 catches.
Yeah, other people have thrown more passes, but they've thrown incompletions in so they could go 14 for 15, and that would disqualify them because one of them hit the ground. But since all 13 of his balls did not hit the ground, he threw that qualifies him for the most since the NFL AFL merger.
I don't know if y'all know who we play this week, but this is gonna be his first start going into the game, and I am stoked. We play the Buffalo Bills this weekend.
Yeah, I thought you guys played the Bills. The Ravens play the Bengals.
That's
gonna be a good game.
That's on Sunday.
Well, yeah, the Steelers versus the Bills. Hell yeah, we beat them last year, boy. We're gonna beat them again this year.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying any.
The Saints are playing the very surprising Seattle Seahawks.
I hope y'all have a shootout. That'd be awesome. I like watching Geno in shootouts.
Geno versus Jameis. Or is Jameis even going to be back? Do they?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
maybe the training staff will puncture his lung like they did Tyrod.
That was the Chargers.
I know.
What? Anyway,
but I was just saying, in general.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Andy can play more.
I don't know. Andy Dalton is a very he's a manager.
I'm going to be real. That's what you need. You need a game manager.
Yeah.
But he's a manager that has the upside of being the Red Rifle.
Yes, true. Yeah. The subreddit was calling him Red Rocket.
Of course, Red Rocket.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't know how passing yards and stuff are so low for the Saints, but y'all have such a stacked
because they've been injured.
Core.
They've been injured.
Oh, okay,
Chris Olave is the eighth receiver on the list of reception yards. Chris Olave is the only person that can catch the ball on their team apparently.
Well, I don't know why they're scheming up Jarvis Landry just as a blocker half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis is.
They're trying to play him like a Juju Smith-Schuster role. He needs to be out there catching the ball.
Also, Michael Thomas being injured last game also is interesting. He is not staying healthy again after missing a year, which is it's just the worst.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the worst. I woke up to that injury report like, oh no, like we did better than I thought, and then we were like 5 inches away from being overtime.
I'm gonna be real right now. I think that if the ball bounces on the inside of the crossbar, that should be a field goal. Like, because that's exactly what happened.
Also.
Like if it was hockey, it would be a goal. Like that's how hockey works. If you pass the threshold, it's same with a touchdown. If you pass the threshold, it's a touchdown. So why is it different for a field? Why does the ball have to fall on the other side for it to be a field goal?
Yeah.
Like,
it makes
because they want to make Gabe sad.
I mean, he did miss a 48-yarder earlier in the game. Like, and I was like, oof, this is brutal. And we let Murray go. Like, signed him off the practice squad, and then Denver signed him off.
He was the leading rusher that game.
He chose to leave. Chose to leave the Saints. That's how bad the locker room is right now.
Well,
I mean, how many times have y'all cut him, brought him back in, and he's had to deal with that?
I mean, what we should have done is cut Mark Ingram. I love him, but he is a shell of his former self, and signed Murray in the offseason. He was a better option than.
Hold on. If he was on your practice squad, then like practice squad players only make like $110,000?
No, we tried to actually sign him to the roster.
Oh, okay.
We matched what the 49ers were doing to stay on the roster, and he chose to go to the 49ers.
The Broncos or the 49ers?
Or the Broncos.
Yeah.
Broncos. He chose to go to the Broncos.
Well, also Javonte. So with the Broncos, he could probably start. He's probably going to get to start with Melvin Gordon with his fumble problems and his confidence issues. The other guy they have is like Boone or something, but it's basically a nobody. But I mean, and then you have him coming. Didn't he have like 74 yards rushing or something?
Something like that. He was really good.
Murray looked good.
He was really good.
He looked good.
He always has, to me. Like, he'll have games where, like, if he doesn't get the ball a bunch, like, he doesn't get going. But some running backs are like that. Yeah.
Ronnie
Najee
Brown was like
doesn't
that.
get to run the ball, I don't know what you expect him to do. Henry's like that.
Yeah.
They're not Nick Chubb. Shit, Nick Chubb needs, like, 10 carries and has 150 yards.
That's because they have the Cleveland Browns have the best 1-2 running backs in the whole league. The whole league. And that's the reason why they're winning games.
Except they didn't win. But yes, I know you're absolutely right.
They won more games than I predicted this year, at least.
I agree.
And it was all. And again, the only reason they have Kareem Hunt is because he was a rookie and domestic violence, and the Chiefs cut him, and he's a first-round running back. They have 2 first-round running backs that they didn't have to spend 2 first-round picks on.
Oh, speaking of running backs, and then we'll transition, but how about Clyde Edwards-Hilaire this year? He's been on fire. Like,
they started letting him run the ball.
Crazy.
And he's healthy. Like, that's a big thing too, because last year he was really struggling with health. By the way, before we switch over, did y'all see that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire catch that he had? The where Pat Mahomes, like, he rolled out and then he did a spun and just flicked his wrist into the end zone right before he got the line of scrimmage.
I mean,
Patrick Mahomes is like watching a video game sometimes.
I
hate it and I don't like it at the same time. It's the fact that, he's just...
It's like watching TiVo back in college. Like, what the hell's happening?
Just the most...
If Tebow had accuracy.
He had Percy Harvin. He didn't need that.
Yeah.
That Florida team was absolutely stacked.
Yeah. On the other side, that was a couple of Pro Bowl linebackers
Pro Bowl
and
center. That was Mike
And
Pounce.
guard.
And guard, yeah.
Yeah, that was the
I
best
can-
team.
yeah,
One of the
Marcus
most insane teams of all time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
'Cause
That
all
was
of those-
definitely a top 10 team
most
of
of
all
that-
time. Absolutely.
Most of that roster went on to win Super Bowls and be Pro Bowl players, multiple Pro Bowl players inside of the.
I mean, hell,
And-
even my team lost to Tebow in the playoffs,
Yeah, and
and I cry about it every time.
oh god, and he got cut the year after. It was so insane.
For Peyton Manning.
Was that that was the Demarius Thomas play, right?
That was the play that made Demaryius Thomas the receiver on the team.
Yeah,
He stiff armed the shit out of Ike Taylor and just kept running on a slant route.
Mr. Peanut Tillman, I remember that.
Oh, the peanut punch, man. That's a peanut
Yeah.
punch. All right. So let's say we don't have a whole lot of time, but we do want to definitely make sure that we get in the biggest dramatic news of the week was the concussion to Tua Tagovailoa on Thursday. Obviously, Sunday there was the Sunday against the Bills. There was a late hit from Matt Milano that Tua hit his head on the turf.
Whiplash.
He got up, stumbled, and from there went into the locker room and into concussion protocol. Based on what at least has been released, he went through what was customary normal protocols, and the independent neurologist let him go back into the game. He went out and played, and he was the reason they won the game. And then they had a 4-day stretch after that where he was tested for lingering issues or with the potential of occurring issues. Anytime a player takes a hit to the head, it is required by NFL protocol that they pass concussion tests for the concurring 3 days basically. And then he went into they played Thursday against the Bengals. Late in the second quarter, he took a bad hit from Hendrickson, I think is the guy from the Bengals, and he hit his head on the turf again, and he went into a fencing pose. It was a bad scene, and there was lots of opinions. So as to what happened and what was the cause and all of that. So let's hear y'all's takes on that.
I'll let Gabe go first because I know he has a lot to say about it.
I mean, if it was found that, definitely, they fired the independent neurologists, so they're trying to lay the blame on him for the most part. Which, if he messed up, that sucks, and he's responsible for that stuff. But also, the Dolphins are responsible, no matter how way you cut it. The coaching staff let him go back out. That's just there is going to be some sort of fine. Depending on how deep the investigation goes and how far it goes. That's some time. But
just to give you an update, the last thing they're going to do is interview Tua, which they did today. So, and they did announce that all findings will be public. So once they finish the report, we will know absolutely everything. So
especially now with the NFL being scrutinized for CTE and just really bad traumatic brain injury stuff, it's really important that they get this right. And unfortunately, the Dolphins are probably going to have to pay. And They're going to make an example out of the Dolphins, no matter most of the findings. Whether it's going to be a fine if they determine it's not too much involvement, or draft picks, because the NFL, again, under a microscope with this kind of stuff.
I think it reminds me. What I was scared of was, I don't know if you guys remember this from about 5 years or so, when Case Keenum suffered that concussion playing for the Rams, and their staff kept letting him go out there and play fully concussed and everything. And I think that's where a lot of the minds are going, of just okay, well, how well did they do this? I mean, obviously he the way he went back out and played, he seemed like he had his feet under him. He seemed like he had his mind where it needed to be, at least for the most part. I mean, he was able to win the game. But there's a lot of fingers being pointed at that he hyperextended his back before hitting his head on the ground or something, which can make your legs feel like rubber if something went wrong in his back.
Hold on, let me just say it was on a quarterback sneak earlier in the game. That's what it wasn't on that particular play. Just
right.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They were saying he was dealing with that already, and so because the way he fell, he hit his back first before his neck went back, and if you're already struggling with a back injury like that, the big fear whenever the Bengals issue happened was, yes, he did have a concussion at that point, but what can cause that is also in your neck, because it's just like if you have your lower back, your legs will go out.
Yeah.
And then if you have your neck, it'll shoot down your arms, and it can make you seize up and stuff. Which is why I think that these other doctors, we were talking about this off screen, some have said to him, yo, stop playing. And that brought up what we were talking about. And everybody plays this game knowing something can get hurt. I think there's that limit, though, where Andrew Luck was hey, I'd rather be able to go walk and be at home with my kids and play than something worse happen and I'd be paralyzed.
And they hated for a lot of people.
Yeah.
He
got booed. He should not have gotten booed for that.
That's because fans are toxic.
Yeah, and here's going back to what you said about Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck made that choice for his quality of life, not because of anyone telling him to do something. Anyone, he made that choice because he wanted to have a life that's more than football, and that's absolutely, you should not be booed for that. But look at a player like Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford played in the league for 8 years and was injured for 6 years of it. He was constantly injured, and nobody said anything about him retiring. He had concussions. He had torn ACLs. He was a first-round pick, a number one pick, paid millions upon millions of dollars, and no one said anything about him retiring. Why are we talking about now when we're talking
because we care about health more now than we did 5 years
Everything
ago.
is under a more scrutinized microscope.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean people need to retire if they get injured. People get injured all the time.
But we're not talking about just a simple injury. We're talking about injuries that could potentially lead to,
yeah, but
life-altering.
T. Higgins has had 2 concussions this year, but no one's talking about him retiring. He had a concussion in game 1 and a concussion in game 3.
Also, this harkens back to week 1 of our conversations, where I had a conversation with one of my friends, and Tua was coming out of college, and one of the big things was, you have to watch out. He's really injury prone.
Okay.
He's always injured with something. If he can stay healthy, he'd be a good quarterback. and he would be a reliable quarterback. What they're talking about now is having something like just like J.J. Watt. If you start having arrhythmias and AFibs and your like heart rates are like he should have probably retired this week. But people choose. That's your life. That they choose like memorability, like being memorable versus long-term health. And like, if you ask the players that were going on years ago, that are playing, the players
that are still alive.
Yeah, they would definitely sacrifice these. These are younger men that are not fully aware. Like when you're in your 20s, you're not even fully like your brain isn't fully functioned, until you're 21. So, like years from now, they're not thinking about future. They're just thinking about the money and the fame that it could bring you, not the long-term effects on your body. And when you become injury prone like that, and you have what look like 2 serious concussions back to back, people start whispering that you should retire.
No, people don't do that though. That's what I'm telling you.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
name me one other person that was told that they needed to retire because of injury. Name one person.
All right, let me ask you a question. Like, why are you so vehemently
I'm not saying
in the other direction?
I'm not. I'm okay. If he wants to retire, he should have the right. But it shouldn't be thrust upon him.
You're very defensive about this.
You're very defensive.
No, I'm not defensive about it. I'm just saying that. No, I'm saying that no other person in the history of the NFL has been told that they needed to retire because of an injury.
No other person in the NFL has ever seized up like that with their hands on the field dramatically.
After a light blow.
There was literally a person. The tight end in Buffalo was paralyzed for several years. No one told him he had to retire.
What? He just retired. I don't understand.
Look, that's what I'm saying. Is that why is it different?
Hold on,
for Tua?
Adam. I feel like you're arguing the wrong point.
What do you mean?
There shouldn't be an argument against people in the medical field being like, "Hey, I see this as a problem for his life. He should probably retire." Why are you so defensive about them caring now? When the conversation should be, I'm glad that their people are actually caring now. Why didn't they before? That's not where you're coming from.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You're just like, well, nobody's ever said shit before. Why do they got to tell Tua now?
Well, no, I'm saying that the argument for me is literally what happened to Tua could happen to any player in the NFL.
But it only happened to Tua.
No, it only happened to Tua this week. It's happened to lots of players. Lots of players have had multiple concussions, and no one has told.
Lots of players have died or had issues otherwise, and that's why. And just like Gabe said, like they are under a microscope, and it hasn't been as horrendous of a sight to see as his two has. In both instances,
so only you're saying
visually.
So you're saying that only if somebody fences should they retire because of a concussion.
I'm not saying. Okay, first of all, neither of us are saying that he should retire. We were just talking about the conversation that it got brought up by other doctors. First of all, calm down.
So we're talking about medical professionals. You are not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Eric's not a doctor.
Right.
If medical professionals tell him that he needs to retire, he should retire. What the rest of us are saying is, we're anticipating something like that because of the nature and the severity of both back-to-back concussions. If he's fine, he's fine. If he gets cleared, that's awesome.
Well,
if he's prone to getting concussions, just like any, you take just as violent of a sport, you take it like boxing or MMA, and if a fighter keeps getting knocked out and he gets getting flatlined each time, the retirement talk happens because people are concerned about their long-term health and CTE and everything else. More people are aware of what CTE is now, and the NFL is more aware of it. That's why we're even having this conversation. Like, we're not saying he should retire, because none of us know how bad he's hurt.
Right,
except the doctors.
Well, but the doctors that are talking are not doctors that investigated his issues. They're referring to specific. You investigate
about his results.
Right, they haven't.
When a doctor says retire, they're looking at results in the broad history of his medical records.
But nobody's allowed to look at him.
Yeah,
you can't look at that stuff. The people that are talking are not the people that have inspected him.
I think we agree on the same thing. Like, we as fans can talk about somebody retiring and being concerned if there's two things that are back to back, but we don't know medical history. Just like Andrew Luck, he was just tired of being hurt all the time. That's the reason why he retired, and he's thinking about his long-term health. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is, if it continues to be a thing, he's had a hip injury, he's had the concussions, lower ankle,
neck,
like if you're looking at the broad spectrum, everything out on a table, and it's all bad, or most of it's hurt, and you said earlier in the show that everybody should not expect everybody to play the 17 games. It's true. Yeah. Car crashes each time somebody hits each other, and so but there comes to a certain point where people just retire because of injury. Basketball, baseball, everything, when you become too injured to actually function, and you're a liability and a soaking of money into your team where you're basically just moving on. Look at, wasn't Murray, but was the other really high-profile running back drafted in that class, the one with the super bad knees.
Gurley?
Gurley
could be the example you use.
Yeah, look at a big one is if you're looking at basketball, Zion Williams has foot injuries. Yao Ming retired super early because of foot injuries. We're not talking that. I think Tua is great. Honestly, I liked him. I thought the Saints should have drafted him because I thought he was a really good quarterback to sit behind Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. I think he's playing balls to the wall also this year. But if you're going to continue to be concussion prone in simple hits like that, it's time to move on just as somebody watching. Mm-hmm. And you should never sacrifice your health for fans.
I agree, but I don't. At the end of the
day, we all die alone.
I don't think that he would sacrifice himself for any fans. He's doing it. If he plays, he's doing it for him. That's different. But.
And I'd like to make one point real quick. We were talking about T. Higgins and his concussion. That was your big defense towards all this.
Well,
the difference between T. Higgins.
It wasn't a defense. It was just a statement that he had 2 concussions
when
back to back.
When you watch this back, listen to how you say things, and you'll see why we say that. The T. Higgins situation comparatively to Tua, we have no indication that those talks with T. Higgins didn't happen. The issue is Tua's is on massive TV talks because of how gruesome it was televised, and it was very concerning.
Right.
That's why a lot of what they're saying is out there for him specifically, but there's nothing saying that those talks for other players aren't out there now comparatively to if they would have been 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I think that regardless, we can all agree on every standard that it is good that those talks are there now to protect these guys for the betterment of their lives. And I'm sure we can all agree on that.
Also, Tua is a very highly scrutinized quarterback just off the bat. So he is in the limelight more from people. So now that he actually was playing good and everybody was watching versus a couple of years ago, they're not really they're watching for him to fail rather than injuries. So like it. If any quarterback is a very high profile position, if not the most high profile position. So if something like that continues to happen, like,
but we can also agree that quarterbacks are less prone to hits to the head because of rules. Like, I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
the quarterbacks play like Tom Brady at 45. Like, that's just the number one. Like, because of the fact that he's in a league that the quarterbacks are very protected and very, like, it's just the nature of the game being violent and shitty to one's body, and then fans wanting results.
and yeah, exactly. And I'm go refer back to what you guys said. I'm not saying that Tua shouldn't. If he chooses to retire, he chooses to retire. I'm just specifically stating that it seems like, for whatever reason, just like you said, Gabe, Tua is being held to a completely different standard than any person who ever came before him, and it just doesn't make any sense.
He just, some of those people need to talk about something, Adam, or Donnie.
That's fine.
People need to talk. People need to talk about something, and it, like, just like, whether it's founded or not founded, the NFL, there's a 24-hour-a-day in a sports media machine that needs to get fumbled.
We're literally doing it right now.
And it's also like we said, that we're like, out of all the injuries this year that has happened, with him also being like a high-profile quarterback, they were undefeated until then, and all this stuff. But then to see something like that week to week, and it being so gruesome to watch, and it's those things that that also adds to like why it's different. Well, because they, like, where his hands were seized up, people, like, at least in this generation, last 20 years, that hasn't been something on television for people to see.
And to be fair, they shouldn't have showed it anyway. Like, I mean, that's
no, and they actually got in big trouble for keeping showing.
Yeah, they should not have done that anyway. I mean, if you can cut away from a streaker, you can cut away from that. Like, it's right. there is a lap, a 10-15 seconds, like, gap where you can cut away from that. They didn't have to show that. Just like when there's a bone showing. I mean, we've seen bones coming out of people's like arms and legs. Like that's not, we don't watch the football for that type of stuff.
And this also was a different situation to where, like, it's different than a torn ACL. It's because it's dealing with his possible back, neck, or head. And it was different than, like, we've seen concussions from other people where they just get, like, receivers, like T. Higgins you were using, where he got hit up high and he was just laying on the ground until he was gone. He didn't, like, get hit, try to get up, fall over, and have to be held up. And then another time where what we saw with the seizing up and stuff. And then even on defense, when we saw the most gruesome, Brian Shazier, our middle linebacker, whenever he hit the guy and he was paralyzed. Mm-hmm. And thankfully he's recovered, and obviously he'll never be the same. But it's, all those are different than the situation Tua has going on. One, because he's a quarterback, so the general beast of his injury is different, and it's going to be held differently. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I think more of the weight comes from what we were able to see, which was still fucked up. It still shouldn't have been shown the way it was, but that, and that's a big talking point, because now, after everybody, like Gabe was saying, with the league being under a microscope for CTE and concussions, and now everybody knows what's happening and going on with that stuff, to be able to see that come to fruition in the worst possible way. Because if you see a receiver or somebody get a concussion, they get helped off the field because they're just laying there, and then you get told that they're going to concussion. You don't really see what happens from that. Mm-hmm. Us being able to see what happened from that potential concussion and everything, I feel like is what set it apart and why it is so different, as just a more detailed answer in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I agree, it absolutely is different, but I would I would just say that it's different for the NFL. It shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be based on like Tua should not have a name. Like the fact that it happened is
well, that's also saying like if it. I think that if that happened to any quarterback in the league, the exact same thing for the two instances, it doesn't matter what their name was, they would be the quarterback being talked about. It's nothing just with Tua. Well, I feel like because you being a fan, you might also feel it's more scrutinized than it is. But just me trying to be unbiased, I feel like if that was any quarterback in the situation, the exact same things lined up and happened the way it did, they'd be the quarterback in question. Same situations going on.
I mean that's fair. I mean you can't necessarily assume anything different. So,
right.
It's definitely going to see how it unfolds, but it was nice doing good podcasts.
I do want to just mention the darn, now I lost what I was going to say now. But no, this is here's ultimately the good thing that comes from this, regardless of any of it, is that if the NFLPA doesn't know when they fired the independent neurologist, they didn't know if he had done anything wrong or not. All they knew is that he was extremely defensive when they tried to interview him, and basically said, if you're going to do that, we don't need your services. That's why he got fired. Whether we'll find out if there was more to it, but that's what they've released. And they've announced that the NFLPA and the NFL will do more for moving forward in diagnosing and ensuring that players do not go back out on the field once they've been concussed. And that's something that absolutely needed to happen, because even Sunday night, we had a concussed player go back on the field on Sunday night.
Ooh.
Brate is his name?
Oh, Cameron Brate?
Yes. He was concussed, and he went to the sideline and went back on the field. During halftime he was diagnosed with a concussion, but he was concussed on the field, and they let him go back out. So I mean, we have this literal issue happening constantly. So if you're going,
I saw where Bill Belichick was kind of talking shit about Miami, where he was like, even if they were cleared, he's like, I've pulled players and I didn't let them play even if they were cleared.
Well, that and to be honest, I'm confident in Mike McDaniel. Had Tua shown any other sign other than the stumble, he wouldn't have gone back in. I feel that confidence. But I mean, Tua went back out, played his heart out, completed a pass 3rd and 22, which, as a Dolphin fan, was amazing, because the 3rd and 22 used to be a punt down for us. I was like, and then on the concurrent Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday passed all the protocols needed to play on Thursday. So I mean, if that's all true, it's crazy to think the Dolphins did something malicious in making Tua go back out and play. And that's where it seems crazy. Now Mike McDaniel's a first-year head coach. He's a young guy. There is a very realistic possibility that certain things maybe older coaches may have caught that he didn't. But if your independent neurologist is saying he's good to go, and your team doctor is saying he's good to go, what do you do?
And Tua said he's good to go.
What do you do?
Yeah. Maybe it's just news, and we're a part of this also, talking about it, and, over-hyping the situation. But, it's all a matter of perspective, I guess.
Exactly. And again, like I said, if Tua does retire, great, and if he wants to do, I have no issues with that. The only thing I have issues with is people trying to take control of the narrative and take the decisions out of the young man's hand. Like if he's concussed and he can't play, and the NFL has the protocols accordingly. Obviously, they decided they need to do better, and I absolutely agree they need to do better. Like, I mean, and that's what it comes down to.
We're all involved.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, that's where
I
stand.
The last thing I'll say is I think the Steelers will beat the Bills this weekend. That's going to be the game of the week, and that's where I'll leave it.
So I think Teddy Bridgewater will beat the Jets.
And the Saints will win. We'll all live in fantasy worlds where
we'll all be wrong, and then we'll know.
Oh no, we're definitely all living in a dream of.
Hold on. We haven't seen Kenny Pickett play 4 quarters. Let's go.
Yeah,
I haven't seen I haven't seen Teddy Bridgewater play 4 quarters, so let's go.
Yes, we have all last year.
That wasn't real life. That was Bronco life. That's different.
That's why,
they live a mile high. That doesn't count.
All right. Well, I think it's been a great podcast, guys, and
yeah, for sure.
All right.
Hopefully we can get together next week.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you all for watching. Please hit the like if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel to see more awesome content. And you guys want to you guys want to lead out with your name and Haladin and Maul and Adani. All right, this is y'all have an amazing week, and we'll see y'all and we'll talk more about football next time. Leave comments. We'll try and read them on air. That would be good. You guys
give us questions and things to talk about and argue about. This is awesome.
Yeah, arguments are fun. Yeah. I'll see y'all next week. Later.
Peace. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Adam. We were saying that you were getting defensive because it wasn't what you were saying; it was how you were saying it. That's why I was saying that, like, if you watch it back, you're gonna know what we're talking about.
Tone is everything.
Right.
I love you guys, and